Good morning. Today we are going to talk about the political situation in Central Asia. In order to understand the political situation in Central Asia, we have to divide our conversation into two parts. First of all, we are uh, we would like to talk about the relations among Central Asian countries, and on the second part, we will talk about the external powers which has interest in Central Asia and has uh, access through political, international, or regional institutions in this region. Uh, Talking about the Central Asian countries, today's situation is uh, can be classified as friendly situation and growing economic and political cooperation. But at the same time, we have to mention about the regional problems which accumulated during the independence. So these problems related to the border problems, delineation of borders among states, and narcotics, uh, migration, and water distribution, and ethnic disputes. All those problems uh, wasn't solved during 2.5 decades. Uh, Even the Central Asian leaders have friendship uh, atmosphere. For instance, political giants of Central Asia, uh, such as Nursultan Nazarbayev and Islam Karimov, were close friends, but they couldn't join their efforts to solve those problems. But after the change of political administration in Uzbekistan, new president of Uzbekistan, Mr. Mirziyoyev, initiated a lot of new projects which helped to solve all those problems. Today, almost uh, all problems related to delineation is solved. On the other hand, uh, the economic cooperation among all countries uh, is gradually growing. If we look to the statistics, uh, for instance, trade balance of Uzbekistan with Tajikistan in 2016 was about 40 million US dollars, and today this number is exceeding half billion US dollars. Kazakhstan is among top trade partner of Uzbekistan. So political leaders met over 30 times in different uh, projects, state visits, official meetings, and meetings during regional institutional mm, capacity, and they these meetings getting on regular basis, and today Central Asian leaders have uh, Council of Central Asian political leaders, and this initiative can be assessed as a first and significant step for economic and political cooperation. Uh, we know that Central Asia has economic cooperation at the beginning of 90s, but uh, due to external uh, engagement and external influence, those initiatives were stopped. One of the significant regional projects was Central Asian Economic Community. But after the 25 years, today we have some signals from Central Asian countries to re-establish such kind of economic integration projects. So this is a political atmosphere in Central Asia today. Now we can turn to the external powers which has direct interest to Central Asia. First of all, we have to talk about Russia. Russia has direct interests in Central Asia. Central Asian people speak Russian. They use Russian Cyrillic alphabet in official documentation. At the same time, Central Asians are watching Russian TV channels, and even Central Asian republics watch Euronews. They have to watch Russian version of Euronews programs. The next significant factor of Russia's influence in Central Asia is uh, the Russian culture or Russian language policy which is existing in these countries. People not only understand Russian, they speak, they use Russian language in daily life. For example, a significant part of Kazakhstan speaks in Russian. And despite the some transformation in national politics, language politics in Central Asia, still Russia covers in terms of information, in terms of dissemination of Russian foreign policy, covers Central Asia. And on the other hand, Central Asians are members of Commonwealth of Independent States. This institution initially was established in order to keep cooperation among all post-Soviet countries. And some Western experts argued that the Commonwealth of Independent States is the institution which provides peaceful dissemination, peaceful resolving of former Soviet Union. Of course, national interests of all former Soviet republics dispersing from each other. But the real and existing regional institution is still Commonwealth of Independent States. This institution solving a lot of interstate issues in terms of immigration, in terms of migrant workers, and we know that millions of Central Asians, Caucasian, and Ukrainian and Moldovan workers visiting every year Russia as a seasonal workers, such called gastarbeiters. And so Commonwealth of Independent States is still ongoing and real institution existing in post-Soviet area. The next institute which led and great impact of Russia is customs union. This is also initiated and led by Russia, and some Central Asian countries are members of this institution. The next one is Eurasian Economic Union or Eurasian Economic Community, which is also going to be a serious, significant economic integration institution which tries to cover whole area of post-Soviet Eurasia. This year, in 2020, Uzbekistan agreed to be a member of this regional cooperation, not in full capacity, and Uzbekistan tries to be as observer. The reason is the position of Uzbekistan is that all regional organizations should answer to the national interests in full capacity. And this time, Uzbekistan prefers to be an observer in this regional organization. So, this is Russia's position. Russia tries to cover all Central Asian states in terms of higher education. There are a lot of joint faculties, joint universities in Central Asia. Especially last years, we have seen emerging new joint faculties in Uzbekistan, which was not in practice during the period of President Karimov. So this is situation in Central Asia and Russia in terms of Russia's influence. The second significant external power which has direct interest in Central Asia is China. China has not only direct access through regional institutions such as Shanghai Cooperation Organization, as well as China tries to cover Central Asia through the One Road, One Belt initiative. Now, this initiative is called BRI, Belt Road Initiative, which is significant trans-regional project with tremendous financial, technical, engineering capacity, which passes through Central Asia, through Russia, and through Caucasus towards to Western Union. And China initiated this project in 2013 and established a new bank called Asian Infrastructure and Investment Bank with the financial capacity of $500 million US. And initially, around 55 countries became members of this institution, including United Kingdom and Australia. This is a very efficient financial institution. Alongside this financial institution, China spends billions of dollars to establish this road through post-Soviet Eurasia, and in one side, on the second side, through Arabian Sea towards to Africa, and passing through Malaysia, Indonesia, to Australian direction. So this is multi-directional, complex trans-regional project with huge capacity. China tries to connect over 33 countries towards to Western Union. We have we know about the first freight train which started in eastern China and reached London in 15 days at the beginning of 2018. So this is single and huge trans-regional project which passes through Central Asia, and Central Asian countries connected with China through this efficient project. On the other hand, all Central Asian countries are involved in Shanghai Cooperation Organization, which to some extent replacing Eurasian post-Soviet institutions such as Commonwealth of Independent States, because Russia is also a member of Shanghai Cooperation Organization. And the situation changes towards to the dominance of China in this region. And so we have third significant partner in terms of external influence. This is the United States of America. Central Asia was part of area of national interests of the United States during Afghan campaign. At the Gulf region, Central Asia was included to the area of interest of the United States during actual phase of Afghan campaign. The United States tries to keep balance between the Russia and the China in this region. Today, Central Asian countries have 5+1 scheme with the United States. All foreign ministers of Central Asian countries and the foreign ministry of the United States, they have regular meeting, and all Central Asian countries have good political and economic relations with the United States. The engagement of the United States provides balance of power in this region. So we reviewed 3 key figures in terms of geopolitics to Central Asia. Beyond that, we have secondary players like India, Turkey, Iran, and Saudi Arabia. And this is in the Middle East and in the South Asia, and we have significant our partner on the northern Western Hemisphere. This is European Union. So beyond that, we have close cooperation with American allies in Asia. This is South Korea and Japan. So South Korea and Japan have close economic cooperation with all states of Central Asia, which is a significant contribution to develop for political and economic development of Central Asian countries. And in shortly, this is the political situation, political atmosphere in Central Asia. So recently, I have heard one lecture from Western politicians or analysts about the level of toxicity of Russia in foreign policy. This was very interesting to understand about the foreign policy of Russia. Is Russia's foreign policy is very harmful, or is Russia poisoning others in terms of regional policy or global policy. From the point of view of Western countries, Russia can threaten its neighbors, but at the same time, the, to see to Russia as an enemy is not the solution in terms of regional and global stability. Russia has a close economic cooperation with Western European countries. Of course, in Ukrainian case and the situation in Syria was closely connected with Russia because Russian troops operated in the territory of Syria, and the collapse of Ukraine is also reviewed by the Western politicians and Western academic cycles. The main player of external player to in Russia, in Ukrainian conflict is Russia. But the situation around Russia is getting worse in terms of geopolitical rivalry. Today's European security and security in the region of Caucasus and the situation in Central Asia closely related to Russian foreign policy. And if the West will review Russia as an enemy, and if they try to calculate the toxicity of Russia towards to the Western Europe or towards to other regions, it is this type of position will not help to keep security and stability in all regions. Today, we have looked to the situation in Central Asia, and only stability in Central Asia and security of Central Asia can be established only if we have to provide intersected, interconnected interests in this region in terms of economic cooperation. And shortly, I would like to thank you for attention, and we will talk about the other projects of China and Russia in our next lectures. Thank you for attention.